Hi, I'm the Morelander and this is Morelander EDC. Now, my three favourite things in life: wallets, bags and watches. Probably beer, Xbox, Marvel Comics. You know, there's probably a lot more things in life that I like, but as far as EDC is concerned, they're my three. So today we're back with watches and we're here to look at the Amazfit T Rex 2. So I think this is actually the third one. There was the T Rex, there was the T Rex Pro, and then there was the T Rex 2. Now, I got into Amazfit watches probably about 18 months ago. I got the Neo, and since the Neo, I quite like them as a brand. They're out there trying to create decent, affordable watches for everyday kind of people. And they've got quite a few different watches out there that really aren't that expensive, but are doing the kind of things that some of the larger companies like Garmin and Apple Watch are doing as well, but on a budget, which is great. Now, you do have to temper your expectations a little bit, mainly because these watches are a third to maybe half the price of some of those larger ones. But even then, these certainly are still very high quality watches. So I picked this up now when they came out. I think it was it should have been the 1st of June, but I think they released on the 5th of June. There was something happened. I think it was mainly down to the distributors here in the UK, but as soon as they went live, I managed to pick one up, and I've been testing this now since the 5th of June. Really, one of the big things that they've stated on this is that you can get up to 24 days battery life out of this. I've not got that far, but I've still done reasonably well out of this when I compare this to my Garmin Instinct and my Garmin Phoenix watch as well. So without waffling, let's get into it. And as I usually do, I'll turn the camera around so that we can take a closer look. Now, whilst I'm doing that, if at any point you do enjoy this content, please feel free to hit that like, subscribe and share button. That would be absolutely amazing. And if you do choose to use that, it's perfectly, I mean, it's polite of me at this point to say thank you. I definitely appreciate that you've done that. And yes, let's turn the camera around and take a closer look at the T Rex 2. So here we have the T Rex 2. Now, as we usually do, we'll go through some measurements, we'll have a look at some of the features, and we'll also have a quick look at the app as well. Had a bit of an in-depth look at the app when we looked at the Neo, the Amazfit Neo, but I think because this has got a few more features that take advantage within the app, it certainly makes a little bit more sense that we have a look at some of those features as well. Now, as far as measurements are concerned, the face here comes in at 47.1 millimeters by 47.1 millimeters, and it's 13.7 millimeters thick, which I think when you compare this to other watches, especially, the first thing that you're going to look at this and you're going to think it looks very similar to those rugged G-Shock watches, and you'd certainly be right in that. I think Amazfit, they'd be lying if they said that they hadn't took some inspiration from some of those G-Shock watches. I certainly don't think that that's a bad thing. Here we have a few. This is the GBX 100. Again, you know, this one's actually just a little bit smaller there, but you can see it has that similar kind of aesthetic. We also have the GA 2000. Now, if they have borrowed from this, then that is a very clever decision on their part. This is one of my most favorite G-Shocks that I own. And I think the two do kind of complement each other, both in that really nice OD green, whereas the T Rex 2 has a black dial, which again, you know, I quite like that they've done that. I think in some respects it probably does look a little bit closer to the Garmin Instinct. Now, this is turned off at the moment. It's just in power saving mode, but again, you know, similar size. Probably a little bit larger. The main difference is that this has the screen just within that little grey area, whereas the screen on this is a lot larger and a lot brighter. The screen on this is a 1.39 inch AMOLED display, With AMOLED, it just means that every single pixel on there is its own light source, and this can produce up to 1000 nits. And as far as the resolution on this, it is a 326 pixels per square inch. So it does a very, very good job. And there was a few photos that I showed of this beforehand, where people were trying to work out if it was a hybrid watch where you had a screen in the background and then the hands were separate from that. It does a very good, it looks very good. It certainly doesn't look pixelated or crappy in that respect. Hopefully you were able to see there. So it changed. At the moment I have this on its brightest setting, and I've also made sure that I have this so that it's on its longest period between switching from the main display to the always on display. This is the main display where you get a lot more information on here, and you can certainly change all of these, but then after 30 seconds, to help to conserve some of the battery, you'll notice that it will turn off hopefully any second now. That would have been perfectly timed if it had done that just then, but as you can see, so the beauty of AMOLED is every single area of this display that is not turned on at this moment in time, or there is no light coming from it, that area of the screen is turned off. The only power that is being used is to have these additional hands there, and there's different displays that you can put on there, and then what will happen is the rear of that display will disappear, and then whatever the hands were for each of those, they will stay on there for you. Or you can actually turn it off so that it will just turn the whole display off. You can tap it, it will turn it back on, or you can set it so you can press a button and it will turn back on, or you can set it so that you can roll your wrist and then it will turn back on as well. There's plenty of different options on here for you to change that. So around the screen you have this metal display on the side. So underneath here, this is where all of the sensors are. This is an ABC watch, so altimeter, barometer and compass. Some of the sensors are inside the watch, but then there is also a sensor here on the side just to make sure that it's covered. They have this little protector piece here on the side. This protector piece, so this comes, I think there are 4 different colours. So there is a black and red version, there's a black and gold version where you find a lot of the highlights, so this stays gold. There is the green version, which is a version that we have here, and then there is also a coyote sandstone version as well. So there's plenty of options there depending on, your style. Round the watch then, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. These can all be used for different things, again, which we'll have a look at quickly as we go through this. But also it's a touch screen, which is nice, so you can get to all of the different options that you'd be able to do with the buttons here. You can do those by using the touch screen as well if you choose to. I think it'd be a nice feature if you could turn the touch screen off. It might limit some of the functions that you can do on here, especially on here. You've got quite a few different things that you need to be able to touch. But I navigate it generally with the buttons. I don't find that I use the touch screen all that much. So then going round the watch, it has, as I mentioned, it has a very rugged G-Shock-esque kind of look and feel to it, which is certainly an aesthetic that I like. The strap, if I just quickly undo the strap. Now on the strap there is a little keeper here on the end. So there are 2 keepers, or there are 2 stays on this. The first one holds it into place here at the end, and there's a little lug on the inside which fits perfectly into one of those holes. But also if it does go past that, then the ridge on here will hopefully help to keep that in place. And then the other keeper is here on the end. So you can do one of 2 things with this keeper. You can leave it as it is, and it will make sure that it always holds it close to the clasp. And then if you can see, so if I pull that out, there are 2 small recesses here at the top which keep that in place as well. So if you wanted to, if you have quite small wrists and you want to get this all the way out, then you can certainly do that, and then you've got more freedom with this. There are no lugs on the upper and bottom side of this, so it does move freely if you choose it to. If not, certainly the way that I have it, and this is the way that it comes from the manufacturer, it sits in those two little recesses. You have a plastic clasp. Now, I've been a bit not really too sure about plastic clasps. I know of late G-Shock have started to use plastic clasps, and when they first moved over to them, yeah, I was a little unsure about those. But you know what? None of them have failed on me yet, so I guess we'll just have to continue. I guess we'll just have to continue to test these out. Apologies if I do keep going out of focus, guys. I'll try and keep making sure. I generally try and look at the watch rather than looking at the screen. On the flip side, well, actually on both sides, you'll be able to see that there's plenty of holes in here, so if you do get this wet, I've been swimming in this, I've done stand-up paddleboarding in this, and it does do a very good job of getting the water out from underneath the strap. Then on this side, you have a really nice malleable kind of material, so it feels more rubbery than plasticky. I'm not too sure exactly what the material is, but it's also got, if I give it a bit of a pull, it's also got a nice bit of stretch in there as well. So when I have this on my wrist, I make sure that it's on not too tight, and what it does is it just gives my wrist, certainly when I exercise, my wrists do swell quite a lot, so what it does is it allows it to sit perfectly on there, and if they go past a certain point, it just gives it a little bit more kind of movement in there, but it does a very, very good job of being able to get water out. Also, with having these points a little bit closer together, it also means that you're not going to be, and I happen to have this all the time, I'm always a in-between sizes or in-between watch strap points kind of guy, but having these closer together certainly helps with that. Now I have, if I just put this on, I have a 7.5 inch wrist, and for me, so I can get this on, so, oh no, yeah, that's right. So for me, it's not too tight. I can get a finger underneath there, and I've still got plenty of room here on the end. There's that keeper that holds that in place. This is right at the end, but if this does fall back, this little nub here on the end does an incredibly good job at keeping that in place. Now, other G-Shocks that I have, even my beloved Garmin Instinct, I find quite a lot that this does fall out, whereas with the T Rex 2, I've not had any instances where the keeper has come off the end, which for me, that's certainly a big thing for this watch, and definitely you know, why it's kind of a keeper. Just put those back in. Okay, so actually no, let's not. So on the back, let's have a look at the back. No. Now on the back here, you'll be able to see that we have the optical heart rate sensor, and then we also have the charging point here as well. So this here in the middle, I'm not sure if I can get this to stay on, but yeah, so it does that thing where it turns green so that it can check your heart rate and everything. And then these two nodes here at the top, this is where it charges. Now I did have the charger, so charger, as you'd expect, does come in the box. It is a proprietary charger. You can purchase additional ones of these just in case you wanted maybe to have one so that you've got one for your office at work maybe, or maybe you want to just keep one at home. And it magnetizes onto the back there, and then when it connects on, hopefully you'll be able to see there. So at the moment we're at roughly 51%. Let's put this on manual focus. Let's try this for a bit. Just need to make sure that I do this when I bring it in. So at this moment in time, we are at 51% that you can see there. So while it's charging, it has this really nice little animation on the back. You do have to be careful. The magnet on there is reasonably strong, but you do just have to make sure that you get it in the right place. I wouldn't say that it's, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I can get this in focus. I wouldn't say it's certainly fallen off a lot, but I think maybe you just have to be careful when you do place that on there, just to make sure that it does sit on there perfectly. So I'll just take that off, and then you'll be able to see it goes back to the normal watch face. Now what I'll do is I'll take you through the buttons on here. So there are 4 buttons. You have up, down, select and back. Each of those has a different function when you're on the watch face. So up from here takes you through to, this is kind of a fast options kind of page. So if you wanted to quickly get to your calendar, you can do there. Maybe you want to check the battery. At the moment it's at 51%. You can go into your battery settings there. Screen brightness. At the moment I have this on the highest brightness that you can possibly get. When I have this on my wrist, I keep it down a little bit more, mainly so that I can make sure that the battery lasts a little bit longer. And there's some additional ones in here. Maybe you wanted to lock it, maybe you wanted to set an alarm, or here if you want to get through to all of the watch settings, you can do that there as well. Press down here in the bottom left hand corner and this takes you to these are quick accesses onto your different widgets. So you can change these. You can put them in a different order. You can take some out, you can put some in. Here there's little options there at the bottom. For example, if you wanted to see what your last run was, you can click on that and it will just take you straight through to there. This was a run that I did, when did I do this? I think that was on Friday, wasn't it? So you can go through all of the information from your last run on there. Here in the bottom, as I mentioned, this is back whilst you're in any of those, but when you're on the main screen like this and you press that, press the back button, this will then take you to your app list menu page. It's got a really nice flick to this as well. There's a bit of a kinetic action in there, so if you want to scroll through them quickly, you can certainly do that. But these are all of the apps that come standard with the watch. It is possible to upgrade these apps. I hope this is in focus for you guys. I do apologize if it's not. But each of these different apps, so Pi is their own kind of standard metric. What Pi does is give you well, actually, let's tap on it. So Pi gives you a mark out of 100, depending on how fit you're being for that week. If you can stay so that it is above 100, then you're being nice and fit, and it's just kind of a metric that they give you so that you can see how well you're doing through the week. Workouts shows you all of the different types of workouts that you can do. A lot of these kind of hopefully speak for themselves. Heart rate. Oh, didn't click on that properly. Now, it did just crash on me. This is the first time genuinely that it's done that. I've had this now since the beginning of June. It's definitely never done that on me before. I think because I'm flicking through things left, right and centre showing you this, maybe that's why it's done it. But I'm going to leave this in. As I say, in the last 2.5 months that I've had this, it's not crashed on me before, but you know, it did then. But getting back to there, so this is your app list with certainly with all of the different apps that you can get in there. Now, as I mentioned, the touch screen on this, you can actually get into a lot of those sections by swiping this. So up is the same by swiping down is the same information that you can get there. Swiping up is the same as the down button here. And then swiping to the left gets you into the app menu there. You can either swipe back or you can press back and it will go back to the main screen for you too. The one button that we haven't looked at so far is here at the top, which is select. Now, if you're in any of the other options and you want to choose something or you want to find something, you can hit the select button and that will select that so that you can then change something. When you're on the main screen here though, by pressing the select button, this is the quick jump into getting into an activity. So if I'm doing one of my weekly runs, I'll hit select, hit run, and then it will then try and find the GPS for you. Now at this moment in time I am indoors, so it'll probably struggle to find it, but then I'll hit this button in the middle on the screen and well, at the moment it's saying, do you want to wait until we can find GPS? So for now let's just go back and we'll, oh there, in fact it's just found GPS. So if I want to start running now, I can hit run and then I can start to run. Let's just make sure I can get back out of here. No. I don't want to go. So we can go back. Now there are over 150 different runs, different profiles for these. As I'm flicking through some of these now, so I certainly do use the running. I use the walking quite a bit. There's another one in here for jump rope on a Monday night. I do boxing training, so I do jump rope for a good half hour. But if you want more in here, there's different walking, cycling, swimming, lots of different things in here as well. And then we've got combat workout. So if I wanted to do boxing, or if there was some other sort of martial art that you wanted to. I love the fact that they've got judo on here. I really wouldn't want to do judo with a watch on, but hey, if you're into that sort of thing. But I can click on boxing, and then, you know, it will track that whilst I'm boxing as well. So to come back out of here, and then that is how you set that up. When you finish it, it will then stop that. Now, whilst you're in that bit, so the one bit, sorry, that I've forgotten to show you here are the shortcuts. So, are the notifications. Now, on the notifications, I generally have them turned off. I like a watch to be a watch, but you can set this up so that if somebody's calling you, if you're receiving messages, emails, or even calendar notifications, you can get those to show you on your watch as well. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, they do state that you can get up to 24 days worth of battery out of this. What I've found is, so I run 3, sometimes 4 times a week. I do boxing and jump rope on a Monday night, and I go to the gym and do strength weights on a Wednesday night. So I'd consider myself to be kind of a heavy wear kind of guy, but I don't use any of the notifications. When I'm running, I make sure that the GPS is on there so I can be tracked as well. I'm getting about 15 to 16 days out of this. Now, they do state on their website that if you are a heavy user, that you should get around about 10 days out of it. There is a battery saving mode in here that will turn off certain features as well. If you're using it with the battery saver mode, you can get roughly 45 days out of this. So I'd say it probably is about right. Now, I know that they claim that you can get up to 24 days worth of battery out of this, but generally that's when, I don't know, maybe you work out once a week and it's on a treadmill or something like that. But I think you need to look at this in one of 2 ways. If you've come from a Google Watch, or you've come from an Apple Watch where you only get a day or 2 battery out of it, this does really well. If you come from some of those other ones, maybe it's one of the Garmin Phoenix range, you're probably going to get a comparable amount of use out of this than you do to some of those, apart from maybe some of the ones that have the solar on there, where you're probably going to get a little bit less with this. The GPS on this, if you're using it just on GPS and you're using it on accurate mode, from a full charge, you'll get roughly 26 hours of battery out of this. If you're using it on the balance mode, you'll get roughly 50. If you're using it on the power save mode, then you'll get about 58 hours. I did go for a long walk with this. We did the 3 Shires Head, and I had it on accurate. On that week, that was 3 workouts. That was 4 runs, 1 long walk, and all the other workouts that I did. And I got just over a week. But I really wanted to test the accuracy of putting it on the accurate setting, which we'll have a look at in a moment when we have a look at the app as well. Now, to get the most out of this watch, it's probably best to make sure that you have the Zepp app installed. The Zepp app is available for iOS and Android as well. And it does a great job of being able to give you all of the information that you need at your fingertips. And certainly when you compare it to other apps, like the Garmin app. Now, at this moment in time, my Garmin's not connected to this because I've been testing out the Zepp app. But it's got everything on here. You can see today's steps. You can see as far as your sleep is concerned, and each of these you can click on. I'm certainly a really bad sleeper. I don't get a lot of deep sleep. Yeah, really need to work on that. Hey, how do you work on your sleep? How do you get better sleep? Anyway, heart rate. You can see on here as far, you can go through all of your different days. You can see when you've run, when you've took your watch on and off. Here is that pi metric that I mentioned before. So pi is this metric that they use on your activity that you do through the week. So on here it will take into account all of the runs, all of the different activities and how many steps that you do, and it gives you this figure that they use from a certain algorithm. If you're below 100, then maybe you need to do a little bit more. If you're above 100, then that's great, and you really need to try and keep it above 100. But it's certainly not one of these apps that'll say, hey, you've been, well, actually you can turn that on. It'll say, hey, you've been sat down for way too long, you need to get up. And then here are all of your different workouts, and then there's some extra information in here as well. There's different sections to this, so you can go into a little bit more as far as your health is concerned. And then, as normal, as you'd probably expect, there is then the different settings in here, so you can go into different goals, routes. You can also compare against other friends, and you can set up different things. Whereas then, if you then want to go into the actual device itself, this is where you'll be able to change all of your different settings on here. So if you want notifications, at the moment I have all of these turned off. Apart from goal notifications, I like to know that I've just run my fastest 5k, my fastest 10k, that sort of thing. On the apps, if there are different apps, there are also third-party apps in here as well, and it'll take you through to the App Store, so you can certainly install all of these as well if you choose to, and then you can take different apps off there as well if you don't want to keep them on. So there's all of those different settings. Also in here, you can also put in, as far as yourself, how tall you are, your age, your weight, and it'll help you to track all of that information as well. Now, as far as being able to dial into some metrics when you're out and you're running and you're doing different things, this is where this bit, as far as your work history or your run history, comes into. Now, this was a run that I did on Friday, and it's something that I've been looking into a little bit more, so you can see exactly where I start the run. So we park here on this little car park, and this is a 5 or 6k run that we do, and the GPS on this does a very good job of being able to track me. But there have been a few which I think is probably good to point out. So let me find one. Was this Wednesday here? Yes, so this is Wednesday. If you look where I finish, let me see if I can bring this a little bit closer. So if you look where I finish, I actually start running here where this track is, and I run all the way down here, all the way here up to this point, and it's only just found GPS at that point. Now, it knows that I've run 5.2k, and this is running through some reasonably thick woodland. It's not done a very good job there. Now, here is another one which I think should be the same run. So here is the same run. Now, there again, so this is where I park. This is a good kilometre. It's then found a GPS signal and then lost it again. Here we go. Here's Norman, probably going to try and walk through it. Here we go. Come on, big lad, get out of the way. It's then lost the GPS signal and then found it again. Here is this. So this is the walk that I did. I mentioned before. So I had this on accurate when we did this walk, and this is unbelievably accurate. Now, none of this is through any woodlands. It even found when I went off path because I just slightly lost where I was going, and this is incredibly accurate. But then again, we get back to one of my Wednesday runs. This did a great job. So this again through quite thick woodland, but there's probably a good 500 meters here where it was just trying to find the signal. Now, what I wanted to do was to check how this did against maybe with one of my runs here on my Garmin app. So with the Garmin Instinct, if I find one of my Wednesday runs, which this should be a Wednesday run. It calls it a Stafford run. I'm not really sure why it calls a Stafford run. But if I find this here and then look into this, give me a second, and then we'll put this on here, mainly because the reason that I want to show this is here again. So this is where I start my run at this road, and it's done exactly the same. So it has missed off this first kind of 500 meters, but when I'm running, it thinks it's running that I'm running a good 20 meters or so into the actual trees, which I definitely aren't. Whereas with this one, it's actually got me tracking as it should do right down this path. So in some respects, it's a little bit better than the Garmin one, but then in other respects, it's actually really weird that some of those runs, it's got me completely out. It can't track me through some of the dense tree lines. But then the exact same run that I did a week earlier, it certainly hasn't had any difficulties. So hopefully this is something that they'll be able to iron out with some updates. Now, one of the things that it does say on the website, you know, you can navigate with this. It is an ABC watch, so there is a compass on there, and you can use the compass to take your bearings, but it really does give you the impression that you can put a route into this and it will navigate you through the route. Now, it's one of the things that I've not been able to find. This was filmed on the 22nd of August, 2022. If this is a feature that they've added in the future, then that's great. If it's a feature that if anybody knows, and you add it in the comments, if anyone knows that this is a feature that I've just missed, please feel free to put it in the comments. I'll certainly try and find that, but it's something that I've not been able to find that I can do with some other watches, which just seems strange that they're advertising that you can navigate with this when I've not been able to see exactly how that works. But as far as the app's concerned, it's actually a really nice app, and it's certainly very simple to use whilst using with this watch, and it does open a few more features because there's more features that you can use with the T Rex as well. Now, I definitely do think that the Amazfit T Rex 2 is a great watch for somebody that wants a rugged, let's face it, G-Shock style smartwatch, but they don't want to pay the hefty prices that Samsung, that Apple charge for their watches, mainly because of the clout that their name gets them and the charges that they can add to those. The Amazfit have been able to create a budget-friendly timepiece that can take a beating and still, you know, keep on going. I think then there are possibly a few things that they just need to update, especially with that navigation thing. If I've missed that, then I'll certainly put something down in the description if someone can point out where you can find that on here. Hopefully it's something that they're going to add in the future. I think also with some of the irregularities that I've had with the GPS, so it's that dual band 5 satellite GPS on there. I'd assume that it would be a little bit more consistent whilst I'm out in the woods, but yeah, I don't know. I want to say that it must be hard because it is out in the woods, but then there's the consistency of sometimes it's done it just right and sometimes it's just completely messed it. But I think that's something that they should be able to fix with updates to the software, to the firmware on this, certainly in the future. But I think at this point it's still a great watch and I definitely recommend it. I think Amazfit are just, they really are championing watches and products for the everyday person that wants something that is decent and doesn't have to you know, get a second mortgage to be able to pay for that. So I will leave all of the links below. You can see where you can pick these up. Some of those may be affiliate links. They're to no extra cost to you. It just helps me in the future to be able to make content like this. This was purchased with my own Moorlander funds. This certainly wasn't sent to me. So yeah, I'll leave some of those links below. I'll also leave some of my social media links so that you can see more from me. Certainly watches like this that I'll be testing in the future. And for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.